mean, I think I might have mentioned that, this might be a home game all day, so we might have to tell the crowd to settle down a little bit. So I don't know exactly, but I think that's it.
First NFL start and first win for Devlin Duck Hodges. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Steelers Roundtable. Happy Victory Tuesday. Also, happy bye week. Joining me today on our panel, former offensive lineman Craig Wolfley. We also have Bob Labriola of Steelers.com and Steelers Digest, and former Steelers quarterback Charlie Batch. So, guys, as I said, happy bye week. A lot of smiling faces coming off of a win, knowing you have the weekend off. I want to talk about the game, though, an exciting one. As Devlin was saying, the amount of Steelers fans that were out there in LA cheering on the Steelers to victory over the Chargers. We're going to start with offense. There was another starting quarterback. Charlie, you know a thing or two about quarterbacks. How did Devlin do in his first go?
I thought he did really well. This was a guy who came in, commanded the offense, did what he needed to do. And, of course, anytime you go on the field and you're already up because the offense didn't have to go on the field, man, that's a great way to start. But I really thought he commanded the huddle, and I thought he did what he needed to do to get this victory.
Well, what was most impressive to you in terms of the offense as a whole in getting the job done?
You know what I thought was so important with the offense was 8 of 13 on third downs, 124 yards rushing, 34.05 in time of possession. And the significant play to me that really said something about this young man, since we're talking about the Duck, all right? Wah, wah, I love that, okay? If Myron were here, he'd have the whole place going wah, wah, and all that stuff. But the thing was, on 3rd and goal, when the always reliable Marquise Pouncey rolls one back, goes bowling for dollars, what's he do? He comes back, he scoops that ball up, and he doesn't make the mistake of trying to salvage the play. You know what I mean? That pressure, dude, make the play. No, he just gets it out of bounds, and he saves the series. I thought that was significant. Mike Tomlin talked about moxie. That was moxie on display.
Yeah, the other thing that I really liked was he didn't try to make plays down the field. He didn't try to do more maybe than his body was capable of doing. He got the ball to James Conner quickly on a lot of occasions in the flat, which allowed James Conner the time to make some moves, and he made the first guy miss, I think, on a number of occasions. And you don't want the guy. Charlie mentioned how he was commanding the huddle. There were no delay of game penalties. No burn timeouts because you didn't know. You didn't get the play. You weren't able to communicate it to your teammates. There was a lot of that stuff. I just thought he managed the game. To fans, sometimes managing the game is a derogatory assessment. That's not what I mean by it. That's what the Steelers needed. You mentioned, Charlie, you start with a lead. He didn't mess that up.
Right.
And a lot of times, let the other team mess up, and you come out with a win, and that's what the Steelers really needed.
And anytime you're talking about a young quarterback starting, the Chargers were going to force him to go from his first read to second read. He did that, and at times he went to his third read. So when you're doing that as a young quarterback, man, it keeps that Chargers defense honest.
All right, in terms of the defense, we've already talked about them starting, of course, Devin Bush and his touchdown. What did you guys like about how fast and how physical they were playing?
Man, watching this defense, it really reminded me of old, because this is what we expected them to come into the game. The one thing that really surprised me, and I was looking forward to seeing how they would progress, was in the play-action game. They were getting beat a lot early on in the season, but now that you add Vince Williams to the equation, he now is lining up Devin Bush, and he's alerting him, saying, "This is a pass all day, bro. Don't turn around and get sucked in on the run." And now having him, and now you see Devin Bush playing a lot faster than what we thought that we were watching at the beginning.
Stop the run, too. 32 yards or 14 carries. That's, 2.3 per attempt. And so, to your point, Charlie, if you're not running the ball any better than that, play action is kind of taken away a little bit. The other thing I thought I liked was it didn't seem to me, unlike last year's game at Heinz Field, the Chargers were not able to get the Steelers' defense in some of those bad matchups and then take advantage of those. It seemed like the communication was good. Everybody knew where they needed to be. And the pass rush kind of took care of Uncle Phil back there holding the ball for a long time, looking for those matchups and trying to take advantage of them.
Defensively speaking, I love the fact Mike Pouncey's out. So their best offensive lineman's gone. He moved Dan Feeney from guard to center. Then they bring in Forrest Lamp. I had to say it careful because I knew I was going to say Forrest Gump. But Forrest Lamp in. And what happens? I mean, they were beating the tar out of these guys. I thought Tyson Alu. I thought, of course, Cam Hayward. TJ Watt put on one of the best all-around pass rushing spectacles I've seen in a number of years. He beat him to the edge. He beat him to the inside. He bull rushed him. He trapped the hands. He threw some spins in there. It was a complete pass rushing game. And I thought Bud Dupree set the tone when he slammed Phil Rivers early on in the first series, because I don't think Phil was quite all back, and he came off the field kind of hurt a little bit. I don't think he was all the way back that second series when he lofted that one laterally.
All right, now unfortunately, talking about the Steelers defense, we do have to talk about injuries, and we found out the bad news that Stephon Tuitt was placed on IR today. Only played 5 snaps, but a really good 5 snaps. Tuitt was definitely having one of his best seasons to date. He is going to have pec surgery. Also, TJ Watt dealing with an oblique. James Conner, a quad injury. Joe Hayden did not finish the game with a groin injury. The good news, guys, it's the bye week. Rest up and heal. And then the next game for the Steelers is a Monday night. So that's an extra few days as well. So hopefully the next time we hear from Coach Tomlin, these will not be injuries that are deemed serious. But just quickly, the loss of Stephon Tuitt, I imagine this is a big one.
Man, this is tough. I mean, anytime that you go out there and you miss the season, it's tough. Think about last year. He hurt his arm last year, bicep, and
Right.
he was out. And there was some challenges along the way as the year went on. But this was a guy who really was out there now, having the best start of his career and looking to turn the tide. And unfortunately, when this happens, man, this is tough. And you can see just the response of the players in our locker room. They really felt bad for Tuitt.
You know, and what I'm going to say should not be taken to mean anything bad about Cam Hayward. But I thought so far this year, Stephon Tuitt was the best defensive lineman. And Cam Hayward is not having a bad year. So he was, a man among boys, it seemed to me, at certain points in certain games. And, yeah, that's a significant loss. I won't compare it to losing Ben because of the quarterback and how great he is. But I don't know. I mean, there's a very short list of players on defense that are playing as well and having as big an impact, in my mind, so far this season than Stephon Tuitt.
Oh, great googly moogly. You're not kidding, Labs. I'm telling you what, this guy was on a Pro Bowl train. I mean, he was 3.5 sacks, 22 tackles. This guy was beating guys up on the inside. I mean, if you watch the Cincinnati tape and see what he was doing along with Cam Hayward, I mean, those guys should have been put out in timeout for a while because they were doing so much damage in there. But I feel really bad for Stephon, because whenever it seems he really gets some traction going forward, something seems to happen. And I hate to see it, because this young man, he's got a great heart. He's got a great competitor's mindset and everything, and great ability. It's a shame.
All right, we have much more here on the Steelers Roundtable. Coming up next, Charlie and I play GIF the game. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
No, I just think, good players make plays, and I think he was on the role, in a role that he made a lot of plays. When you're that 3 technique in the defense, or that 5 technique 4-eye for us, he does some good things.
Rivers is going to throw the that's a lateral pass, and it's dropped, and the Steelers pick it up for a defensive touchdown.
Steelers are playing on the road, sort of. Tons of Steeler fans all over the building.
All right, a lot of excitement after the big Sunday night win for the Steelers. Charlie and I are here for the first time this season. We get to use this segment, GIF the game. So we submitted some ones. We asked you, the fans, to participate. Charlie, being the good host that I am, you can go first.
Yeah, so appreciate it. So my GIF of the game is, whoo.
Okay.
Woo. And the reason being is because we needed to figure out a way to get the victory, no matter how it came about. They were able to do that. And there's nothing worse than going into a bye week with a loss, because you have to think about it for 14 days. So that's why I went with the whoo GIF.
All right, this is mine. Here it comes. All right, mine, because it's kind of, we're heading into the bye week. It's a very long time because it's a Monday night game. Mine's just kind of like, all right, we build up this momentum. The team seems to be in a good place, especially the Steelers defense, as you said, important going into the bye week. Now I just want to play again. I want the fun to continue.
Right.
So that's why I went with this guy.
I like it.
All right, we asked the fans to contribute as well. Let us know their feelings heading into the bye. This one from 5-Star Matchup. Yeah, I mean, sliding into the bye week, maybe. I'm just putting in words for them, but that's a good one.
I like that. Okay.
All right, what else do we have? Do you think we did some Daffy Duck? Because the duck?
The duck is saying, "You're welcome."
Yeah, take a bow.
This is what I do.
Then I get around. All right, that's a good one too. All right. Steelers Nation always coming through.
Yeah. We have to get a little bit more explanation for that one. I
Yeah.
want to see if they can dive deep. So
Okay.
Maybe
All
they
right.
can, maybe they can retweet you back out and give a reply
And
to
let
that.
us know.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this segment. We do have much more coming up here on the Steelers Roundtable. We'll be right back.
Slipping a tackle is Carter up the sideline. Let's go. Let's go. Putting on a show for all these Steelers fans and all those terrible towels.
What Coach talked about this whole week is just engineering a win. And, our plan was to set up a short game for Devlin and, keep things simple for him and not make, things erratic for him and put points up on the board early.
All right, since it's the bye week and we're still extra happy after Sunday night's win, we're going to play 2 more games to close out the show. First is Fill the Gap. So, guys, barring any injuries, the first question I need you to fill in the blank. The starting quarterback versus the Dolphins will be, Charlie, we'll start with you.
Mason Rudolph.
Wolf.
Mason Rudolph.
Labs.
Is Charlie Batch not eligible? I'll go with Mason Rudolph, too.
All right, so everyone agrees. I guess the consensus is that. So why? Why, Charlie? Why should Mason, if he's out of concussion protocol, be the starter Monday night?
I just don't feel that he did anything to lose his job. I think what he was doing, he was building on weeks that he did prior to, and I think this is something that is his job. And, of course, as a player, you do not want to lose your job to injury. And, of course, it's good to see your backup or the replacement come in and do an effective job, but it's just one of those points that I would truly feel that as a player, he should get the opportunity if his number is called upon.
The growth process that Mason has been undergoing was really starting to come alive, I think. And I think his ability to go downfield more, and he's got a stronger arm. All those things have been said. You loved what Duck was capable of doing, but I think we saw the confines of what he was doing in that offense. And the big job was don't make any mistakes, especially with the lead, get the job done. And then I thought he just did a great job, but I was walking with Randy Feetner at the end of the game up the ramp afterwards. And I just said, great job, Randy, and he just went, and you just knew, because think about it, you go from a Hall of Famer to a young guy and you're developing him, and it's Mason, and then you lose him and you go to an even younger guy. And so that's got to be a lot on him, but I would say Mason, it's his job. It's his ability to come back and pick up where he left off.
Well, Charlie mentioned that, as a player, you don't want to lose your job because of injury. And besides that, Mason Rudolph, despite what a lot of fans might think, he's been playing very well. His passer rating is 102.5, 7 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. Maybe people want to see him go down the field much more, but the guy has been efficient and effective. And there are a lot worse things, for your quarterback to be than that. And let's not forget, Wolf, even you mentioned, inexperienced to more inexperienced. Well, Mason Rudolph was making his first NFL start a month ago. So I think that you need to give him a little bit more time to develop, and I think he's developing nicely. I don't see anything that Mason Rudolph has done that you would want to take him out.
Think about when you just mentioned the 2 interceptions, one of them was a drop pass. So
Right.
when you think about that, you're like, man, those are some really good stats if he didn't have the drop.
Decent decisions. I mean, I don't really see anything about what we've seen from Mason Rudolph so far that should either make people not like the way he's playing or want to change from him to someone else.
All right, our last statement for Fill in the Gap. Blank was my unsung hero versus the Chargers. Charlie?
With me, I am going with a name that many may not know, but Zach Banner. He is my unsung hero. That offensive line dominated up front, but there was a guy that was doing his job as well that won't get the mention, big number 72. Zach got it done today, and watching it stood out on film to me.
That's a good pick.
Wolf?
I would have to go with Steelers Nation. From the moment the Steelers stepped on the field, there was no doubt that was Pittsburgh West. I mean, that was a loud, vociferous crowd out there. And the best part was in the fourth quarter when they tried to rickroll them with that renegade. It was great because when they started that, who's Rick Astley anybody? I don't even know who that is. But anyhow, they tried to switch over.
He's not on your playlist.
I'm sorry, he's not. But when they went over, the crowd was so loud with Renegade, they didn't even know. They didn't even care.
They didn't know the song changed.
They just kept rocking to Renegade. So Steelers Nation, you guys are my unsung hero.
All right, Labs, your unsung hero.
I don't know if you remember him or not. Artie Burns. Artie Burns to when the ball was put on the tee in Dignity Sports Health Stadium or whatever it's called. He had only played 2 snaps on defense. Former #1 pick, lost his job, starting job last year, then kind of lost his helmet and was inactive and relegated to just special teams this year. But Artie Burns finished second on the team in tackles, did not make any mistakes, was in position. I thought he was competitive at the point that the ball arrived at the receiver. You're playing without Steven Nelson, who is your best cover corner. Artie Burns stepped in. He played well. I won't say that he was on a Pro Bowl track or anything, but very reliable, contributed to the team win.
All right, there was a lot of unsung heroes, so I'm going to pick for this one. I'm going to give mine to Benny Snell football because that's exactly what he did when called upon, especially when James Conner was dealing with that quad injury in the second half of the game. There was numerous times when he was getting those first downs doing Benny Snell football. When he told us all about this offseason after he was drafted, Coach Tomlin would turn around and say one of the coaches, Benny Snell football. There were several times he got the high five from the big guy when he came off. He stayed humble. You should have heard him in the locker room after the game. You could just tell he was so grateful for that opportunity. And also Benny Snell still busted his butt on special teams that night too. So a good game by Benny Snell.
Let me just throw this in. Nobody picked him, but I thought he played really well too. Cam Sutton. That recovery on the onside kick was huge.
Yep.
The game-ending interception essentially batted down a pass during the Chargers' furious comeback in the fourth quarter. Again, at the end of that game, going against Phillip Rivers with the Chargers in, panic catch-up mode, your cornerbacks were Artie Burns and Cam Sutton, and the Steelers' defense held them off. Kudos to those guys.
All right, very quickly, we're going to look at our time capsules. This is what everybody picked heading into the game. Charlie, some receiver other than Juju will have 100 yards.
Man, I was close. I was on my way. If James Conner did not leave the game, he would have finished with 100 yards receiving. He finished with 7 catches, 78 yards, but I really felt somebody else needed to step up. Coverage dictated where the ball needed to go. That was underneath. James Conner filled that void.
All right, next we have Labs. If the Steelers finish minus turnover ratio, they lose.
Yeah, I mean, we heard a clip from Devin Bush after the game talking about Mike Tomlin explaining to the team, we need to manage this game, help duck, those kinds of things. And so what you don't want from your quarterback, I know, Charlie, you probably got the speech a bunch of times from Mike Tomlin too, you cannot lose the game for the team by turning the ball over, especially early. And when you have a young guy, that's something that's even more important that the coach may need to emphasize even more. He didn't do that, and the defense came up with some takeaways. So the Steelers were +2 in turnover ratio and won the game.
All right, this was mine. Dante Moncrief will catch the boomerang. That was a reference to Coach Tomlin when asked about him when he was a healthy scratch the one game. Yeah, maybe he didn't put up the most amazing stats, but when called upon, he caught the ball and took that next step. We know James Washington's dealing with that shoulder injury. Who knows how long that's going to linger for, so he might have to continue playing.
And the catch he made was good for a first down.
For sure.
In the fourth quarter,
heck of a catch.
Heck of a catch, and kept the clock running, kept possession of the ball. That was a critical play.
And if you go back and watch the film, even though the ball didn't go his direction, he was open quite a few times in this game.
It's not like a lot of receivers had more than one catch, too. So, all right, Wolf, yours was the Steelers' offense will have more than 3 third-down conversions.
Bingo. We needed that, man.
Go
We needed
Wolf.
that. Yes. Finally. I think I predicted that every week, though. But anyhow, it doesn't matter. The point is, you got to get over 3. They were 8 of 13 on third downs, and you know how that is. Your offense needs to stay out there, develop that run game, and let your defense have some time off. That time of possession, such a big thing, And so for them, the Steelers, that is, I'm saying to roll those chains like that, that's just life. That's wonderful. That's good stuff.
All right, guys, that is going to do it for this edition of the Steelers Roundtable. Thank you all for joining me. Happy bye week. I will dismiss you now. We will be back not next week. That sounds so weird to say. I can't even say next week. We'll be back in 2 weeks with Steelers Roundtable. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great night, everybody.